Yeah, what y'all think about the song? I hope y'all like it. This is Us versus Life, and today I want to talk to you all about paths. So, there's a book on Amazon called The Approach to Life. That book talks about how we go into things to get to a desired outcome. So, today I want to just talk to you guys a little bit about paths. What path did you choose? What path will we choose, etc.? Because I think it's very important. Because what I noticed is it seems if you're not there yet, then hopefully you can learn from this. But if you've already gone through this, then it may not be too late to pivot, so to speak. So somewhere around, I think, high school is when we should start thinking about, what we want to do with our lives, what path we want to choose, things like that. And so I think a lot of people maybe start thinking about it a little bit, around the age of high school, but possibly more so about their senior year, that year right before graduation. And I just kind of got the song going a little bit in the background, as you can hear. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. But I like this song. I hope you guys like it. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. But anyway, back to paths, right? So, what I think is good advice, and it's just that advice, no one has to do anything that's recommended on this channel. This is Us versus Life. This is just about helping people, as many as we can, and growing a community that wants to do that. Uh, it's what it is in a nutshell. So I think what happens is we don't realize how soon we need to start thinking about our future. And it could start even earlier than high school, but I think somewhere around when you're about 14 years of age, 13, 14, 15, is now pushing it. And I don't know that that's explained to us uh, as it should be. If it was explained to you, leave a comment, please, and say, no, someone told me, whoever that person may have been that told you, that gave you advice to start thinking about, the big picture, because it seems in life, if we take our choices, and we have a video about choices on the channel and how important and how powerful they are, that if we really focus on that and know the importance of that, we can have a better start and likely have a better finish. Because, for example, and this is no knock on whatever someone has chosen to do, as long as you're okay with the outcome. I almost said consequence. Consequence, I think, has a negative connotation to it, but that's not necessarily how I look at consequence. It's just an outcome. Because we can't always make the perfect choice. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with that. And we can't always make the best choice. For those that would say, well, no one's perfect. Well, I agree there too. But my point is, as I've stated before, about the levels. And there's levels of everything. So there's a level of choice that probably could have been better than the one that we made, and so forth, right? So again, if we go back to about 13, 14 years old, what do you remember about that time? What were you thinking? What were you thinking to do with your life? Were you even thinking about it at all? Did you jump into a choice because someone recommended it to you heavily, but it's not what you really wanted? So what I think is probably best when it comes to choosing our path is it takes time. And it's up to you to decide when you're ready to commit. I think too often we are a bit rushed. You know, the pressures of life, they may come from any source, meaning a friend, a family member, an authority figure, society, whatever. You know, those things exist, and then sometimes we get, influenced by those things. But I would encourage anyone that's still young enough that may hear this to, try to do what you want to do, but also use your critical thinking, meaning definitely think heavily about what you're choosing to do. Because, yeah, there's some truth to the fact that you may decide, I want to be you know, a rock star or an artist in paint, artist of any type, act, make music, anything dealing with art, right? But there's only a few people that actually can make a living off of that. Now, with that being said, if you truly love it, you still can do it. You could do it after you have gone to work in any job that you can get or any career that you can get. Because it seems that in this society, most of us buy into the fact that I need to earn money to buy food, water, shelter, and then it expands from there to some other things that, that could be considered wants, but I get it. You want to dress nice sometimes. Sometimes you want to drive a nicer car or a nice car or live in a nice home or a nicer home or have money to go on trips or a better trip. There's levels of what would satisfy you. So yes, there's a perspective component, obviously, where we have to temper our expectations and put it in proper context and understand what maybe the real essence of living is all about. I would suggest that it can't be about material things. That's just my opinion. But again, if your mindset, if your desires differ from that, then you're gonna be possibly disappointed if you don't have, material things. But I think most people would say that material things can't make you happy unless you're happy before you get them, right? And so that's the catch 22 is that you could work very hard and succeed if you're fortunate enough to succeed. But if you're not internally happy, you'll find that those things don't make you happy. You just keep chasing more and more, but you don't get more and more to the point of peace and happiness. So if you're the type of person that feels like internally in your mind and in your spirit, so to speak, meaning your thoughts, your conscious in your brain, the voice that you hear in your head, uh, says positive things to you and you wake up happy or you're happy most of the time, then possibly when you get material things, it can only expand that. But if you're in a place in your life where you are not happy with who you are or what's happening around you, then that could possibly get amplified by having more money or more things. So, we need a good foundation for ourselves. It's very key to build up who we are on a solid foundation. And so, again, choosing your path is a part of that choice, as I mentioned in another video, and there's other things, right? But right now, we're just going to talk about choosing our path and a reminder to ourselves how we start can affect how we finish, but also we need to know when we start a certain thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to finish poorly, but we need to be mindful. That's all I'm trying to say is be mindful of that along your journey, saying, you know what, this path that I started, maybe it's time to pivot to a new one. Again, this is us versus life. This is an attempt to build a community of people, I was going to say like-minded people, but people that are willing to come together to help each other. I think that's the essence of life. That's what we're truly here to do at its core, is to just enjoy each other, help each other, and just, live a good life. I think so often, that isn't the case, but I think if enough of us get that mindset, to make that the main goal, then we could do that, because certainly the world seems to have enough resources. It's just, enough people don't seem to have access to those resources, right? So there's a compassion component for sure in this, because you got to have some compassion to share your resources with someone that didn't put in the work that you did to earn them. Or if you were just fortunate enough to be born into them, to still share. In general, you got to have some compassion and empathy and sympathy about you to share what you have. Yeah, I mean, you can do it for another reason, but those would be the most, uh, I would say, honorable reasons to do it. There's nothing against, because the outcome is the outcome. If someone gets help, no matter what your reasoning for helping them is, someone got help. But like I said, ideally, you would be doing it for a honorable reason, like you truly just want to help people. That's cliche of someone speaking in ideal terms, but that's really the truth. Because if we help people with some underlying motive that doesn't rest in something that's positive, then eventually that will be exposed, and then it kind of ruins it a little bit, I think. But anyway, when we're looking at our path choice, I think we have to really take our time and be afforded the opportunity to take our time. Now, that isn't always the same across the board, because some people have more resources around them. That's why I was talking about that, to where they can take 5, 10 years after the age of 14, 15 to figure out what they want to do. Some people have more pressure to hurry up and get things going because they don't have many resources. I totally understand that. But what I'm suggesting is, no matter what situation you're in, what I'm trying to introduce to those that it needs to be introduced to is, if you can just find a place to get your basic needs met, food, water, shelter, then certainly be patient when it comes to choosing your path, because here's how it works, right? There's a lot of examples, a ton of them. They're all around us, right? Let's say someone decides they want to be a doctor, and they leave high school and they go to college to start that path, right? They may, struggle or have some long nights in studying for, 10 plus years, because, the requirements of education to be a doctor is usually, pretty lengthy and expensive, but they put in all that effort up front, and eventually they may get to a point, depending on what type of doctor path they choose, where they're making six figures plus easy. And then they, repay their student loans and all that good stuff, which takes some time. But, if you're making enough money, you get it done. And then, you're like, man, I have a pretty solid life. Now, let's say someone doesn't know what they want to do and they just take whatever job, maybe because of their circumstances, they feel forced, like I was saying, the influences around them to earn money, and they just take any job that they can get and they just keep working that job. For example, because you build a lifestyle around that job. Let's say you start working at a fast food restaurant at a young age, and you start buying things that you probably need in some aspects, and then others you probably want. Like you have a child, you go, I got a need to take care of this child, or I need a car, and/or I need a car to get to work, so I'm gonna go ahead and buy one. Now you're kind of locking yourself into that situation, that path choice. Now there's a way, obviously, where I'm sure there's people out there could say I started out on the grill or making fries, and then I worked my way up to manager, and I got my own store, and I became corporate maybe, or I just bought a bunch of franchise. I'm sure those types of stories exist, but that would be the exception, right? Because not everybody can say that's what happened to all the people that they know that worked, for example, in the fast food industry. Some of them may work themselves up to the manager level, or some type of leadership level within their store, but that's probably about it. To be honest, right? And you guys can look into that example to say, okay, yeah, that the numbers kind of bear themselves out. That not everybody kind of takes that and turns it into some type of, you know, I've got multiple stores, or I'm a corporate person now. I'm a person working at the corporate office. I'm in charge of a region, for example. Now you can do that, but you'd have to go into that with that plan, I think, and that still doesn't guarantee it. But at least that would be your plan. That's what I'm saying. Like the path we choose, we have to think it through, right? And I don't know if this is emphasized enough to us, but I'm trying to do that now for people. Because let's say, for example, something that has a low chance of success, but a high return if you can achieve it. Like you say, I want to be an actor. And you start that path. Let's say you get into theater, you move to Hollywood, you go to the right areas, New York or Hollywood, the hot spots, maybe even Atlanta now can be in that category. Places where they film a lot, where other actors are active, where decision makers and people that make movies and TV shows are living and active, right? You do all those things, and then, you start working your way up from the local theater, for example. You've been educated, or you're naturally talented to act. And let's say you get your first big TV show or movie, you know. Now you're good, but that's again the exception. I hope we all know that. It seems like there's a lot of successful actors, but there's really not. I think that there's tons of actors that we don't even know about, and not saying they can't act, but the opportunity is just not there for everybody to succeed, right? That's why, again, the path choice becomes important. And I know, like I said, for some of us, this is already past, but it's not too late to start thinking about it again if you need to. I've heard some people say, do what you love, right? And that'll work out good for you. I believe that. But I think, again, if you're going to do what you love, then you have to be willing to accept the outcome It can't be I'm doing what I love and I also expect to be very successful in terms of money. Because usually that's what we're talking about, right? Is money for a lot of people. I think if they are doing what they love but they can't pay their bills, they'll say, I can no longer do what I love primarily. That's why I said, like, you could do stuff on the side is a way to get it done. Like me, for example, this isn't, I don't just talk for us versus life full time. I would love to, but I don't. But I have a passion to try to help people in via this means and in person. I just helped a guy last night that was fresh out of prison with his story, and I helped him out a little bit. So, again, but I can't do that on the daily, right? And I know that, so I do other things to try to earn a living to eat and survive. I mean, there's extremes. I think it's okay to say it's an extreme ways you could put yourself in a position where money is less important, but that would take an extreme change. You may have to move somewhere desolate so that you can live very cheaply, so you can just kind of make minimal money, very minimal money to survive, right? Unfortunately, in a way, unfortunately, our life, our society requires that we earn dollars or whatever currency exists wherever you are to pay for things. Now, maybe a hack, a life hack for that would be to get back into the old school way of doing things, and that's where you barter, you trade one thing for something else. You may trade, whatever for food or whatever for somewhere to live, but that's hard to do in this day and age because you know, you still would need the internet to do it efficiently, for example, or you'd have to really get out there and meet a lot of different people. I'm just really going deep into some of these topics because, I understand, the decisions are important. The path you choose is important. That's why I'm making the video, but, we have to think about it realistically at the same time. But the real point, like I said, is that we should be mindful of the path that we choose, have thought it out very well, and then, if we can, take our time before we commit to anything. Uh, and I want to just offer some more information around the committing to anything. That would include like starting a family. If you're gonna have children, I think people that have had children, some of them have said, look, you're never truly ready. I get that, but maybe there's a time where you're a little bit better prepared than another time. So, think about that as you're living your life. That way you don't get influenced to choose a path that otherwise you may not have wanted to choose. Other big commitments could be, like I was saying earlier about the doctor thing. It could be a college or a university choice. You don't want to jump into that and go, I'm doing this, unless that's what you want to do and you've thought about it. And if you can't do it on your own, talk to someone. Now, if they are influencing you to do something you don't want to do, via the advice that they're giving you, then you just take the good parts of it, and you could give them feedback if you want, but you could just say, I just got some good advice, or I got some advice that was forcing me to do something, but I'm going to leave that part out of it. Leave the part out of it that you don't want to participate in, and take the part out that you do. But it's certainly a good idea to learn from people that have experience, that have gone down the path of life further than you have, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good idea. I mean, you may be able to get 5, 10, 20 years of experience in a 1 hour, 2 hour, 30-minute conversation even. That's worth your time to do that. but yeah, I mean, let's think about the path that we choose because, like I gave you a few examples, you know, you choose a certain path and you get locked into it, then that kind of affects the outcome that you may have for your life, you know. So think about that. If you want to be rich, you may, you know, again, if this is what you want, then choose the paths that have the ceiling that can lead to a lot of money, you know. And then also, again, don't disregard something like working at a fast food restaurant because, again, that path can lead you to a lot of money. But you got to go into it with that plan, though. You can't just go into it and work fries. You got to be the best fry worker. You got to have a managerial mindset because you that's your plan. You want to show people that you know you can run a store. You want to show people that you have a business mind. You're learning about the company and how it works, so you can move up. You know, don't just go into anything blindly. It is another great tip, I think. You know, but you know, again, if you want to have money, then choose a path that leads to money. And over time, be patient, work hard, do a good job, and you can get that outcome. But if you choose a certain path where the average salary is, you know, 30,000, for example, per year, then that's probably where you're going to end up. So know that before you take that path or stay in it too long. Again, as you're living your life, be mindful of that. I can get locked into this path that I just chose temporarily if my life circumstances began to be built around the path that I've chosen, i.e., the money that I'm bringing in to pay for my apartment, my house, my kids, etc. I can't interrupt that. Now you're locked in by force. That's why we want to be careful not to commit to big decisions too early. Things like going to college, joining the military, having children, things like that are big commitments that, you know, when you're trying to do things the right way, you're going to have to be locked in to continue that path to, you know, to finish it. You know, like if you join the military, you're going to sign a contract. So you're going to be locked in for a period of time. You can get out of it, but you won't, you know, that's not the ideal way to do it, right? So, you know, and if you have a child, you got to provide. You know, you got to start providing. You know, don't have the mindset of, well, this person will help me. Uh, and hopefully that's true. But again, try to think about it as if you had no help. If you go to college for something that you haven't thought out fully, then understand there's a financial commitment to that. Now you got to pivot, switch degrees, or what have you, or just drop out of college altogether. You know, take your time, think it out. You know, maybe test it if you want to. You know, like for example, if you want to go to college, maybe take one course to see how you like it. If you're thinking about the military, maybe just go and talk to a recruiter, for example. If you're thinking about being a doctor, maybe go to a hospital and see if someone's willing to share their experience. You know, that's what I'm saying. Start doing it in a, you know, a logical, a thought out approach, you know, before you lock yourself in on a path. And if you don't know what you want to do, if you can find someone that will help you, right, then take your time and make it known to those people that are helping you. Hey, I'm still filling out a few different options. I will not just freeload forever, but I got to figure out what I want to do. Just be honest about it, right? And maybe they will respect that, maybe not. Maybe they will force you to do something. Then at that point, you know, you got to find an alternative. But again, let's try to pick the best path for us so we can have a happy life. I mean, that's what us versus life is all about. It's fighting for our happiness. And what will help us get to that happiness at some level is choosing the right path. And so that's really what I got for you today, talking about choosing paths and how early we should start thinking about it. That's another big point that I don't know that everybody is aware of. We should start thinking about it very early, like 14. So if you have kids, because you're an adult, make that known to them that, hey, you know, it doesn't just start senior year, because senior year is probably a little too late. Start thinking about it as soon as you get to 13, 14, which is usually probably high school age. Because you could start like for example, if you start thinking about it and you say I do want to go to the military, you can probably start that in high school and be further ahead on your path, like in some type of military program, for example, that prepares you to be ahead of the game when you enter the military, or even go into college to be even more prepared for the military. That's an example. Or sports, same thing. Or being a lawyer or a doctor or someone that works in IT or anything. You know, you could start early, and you really need to. We really need to start early. But again, if that time has already passed for you, it, I think what we can do, just like I'm doing right now, is in your free time, you can start to work on the things that you might have wanted to do, but you had to take a different path, or you chose to. Just start working on it. That's all on the side. And you don't have to jump all the way in. You can just keep doing what you've been doing, but then again, on your free time, start working on something you may be more passionate about or interested in, or is a path that will get you the more money or whatever, if that's what you want. Just start taking classes if it's the type of path that requires more education, or start teaching yourself, or get a mentor, or whatever it takes to start that path. And I think that's important to, again, our happiness is what we do each day. I just want people to hear someone else say, this is a way that you can approach life. Like I said, there's a book, The Approach to Life, on Amazon that you can check out. It's very short, and it talks about these things. Again, that book is The Approach to Life, and it talks about these things. But I'm talking about it now to you. And it's kind of simple, at least to understand. The execution is not, it's not so easy. But, we just try to be prepared as we can and choose the best path that we can. And be flexible to pivot when we realize that we need to. That's all. So this is Us versus Life. I appreciate you listening. We don't have a lot of subscribers or anything, but again, if you're hearing this, please like, share the videos, subscribe, support, because all this is a community building effort to help us. That's why it's Us versus Life. And here's a little bit more of this song for the channel as we close out. I wish you all the best.
And this is the place. Where we'll fight for a happy life. Yeah. We fight for happiness each day. Welcome to Us versus Life. time.